One. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the FitPro Show. My name's Emily here in Fort Collins, Colorado, and we have Jason joining us again. David is not feeling so well, so Jason is going to fill in again, and we love having Jason on as we had him on the past 2 weeks. And we're just going to continue on our conversation from last week, adding a little bit more pieces that we wanted to add on that we didn't think we were going to get to. So this works out pretty well. Jason, thanks so much for joining us. Love having you on. Remember, everybody, if you have any questions, please throw those in the chat box throughout the show or unmute yourself. We love to connect with y'all. So just remember that. Don't be shy. So the past few weeks now, we've been talking about fat loss. And so last week specifically, we kind of talked about creating a calorie deficit through both nutrition and exercise. Jason, do you want to run through that with us a little bit?
Sure. So recapping that, creating that calorie deficit, we want to take advantage of both nutrition and exercise, because in the practical sense, you can only bring your calories down so low to the point where you're going to have a hard time getting all the essential nutrients, and you're going to feel constantly hungry. Your body temperature is going to decrease because you're not creating that thermogenesis and generating that body heat. So we want to bring our calories down below maintenance, but create the rest of that calorie deficit through exercise. And the same thing works for exercise. We want to add in more calorie burning activity, but only to a point, because we don't want to overtrain. And as I've learned from TechMan Try that just started, time is a factor. We just don't have all day to spend exercising. I'm sure some of us would like that. Some of us, but time is always a limiting factor. So it's always important to include those two variables and meet it at the point where you're optimizing both and not necessarily trying to rely on one or the other.
Yeah, that's a great point. Time is of the essence always with anything. But like we talked about last week, if you can take some walking meetings, highly encourage y'all to do that. Maybe start your day with a walk or a run. One of the best kind of tips that I give folks is to put it on your calendar, put it on your Outlook calendar, put it on your phone calendar, whatever you utilize most. And even if you don't hit it at that exact time that you plan on, maybe something comes up, at least it's kind of an external kind of reminder of like, hey, I actually do need to get that done today.
Yeah, I like those tips. I'm a first thing in the morning exerciser, even if it's just 20 minutes to a half hour, which can be plenty if you're going at a decent intensity, but it just becomes part of that morning routine. And it's almost hygienic. It's like I do my workout, then my shower, or breakfast and shower, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then the scheduling on your calendar, that I know a lot of employees who do that too, because if you let things interfere with that time, then you start to lose that time, and then the weeks go by and you find that your life is unbalanced because you're not fitting in that physical activity. So fit it in by planning in advance. And in the last session, we talked about planning your nutrition, which is very important too. But today I want to continue our talk about the exercise component and really this thing we call cardio. So of course, all the different types of exercise are going to help you. For example, the mobility is going to help move your body through the optimal ranges of motion. Resistance or strength training is going to help maintain your muscle and bone density and strength. And also it's going to create that fit appearance, because it's the muscle that creates that shape when you're lean enough to see it. But really, when it comes to creating this calorie deficit, the money maker is going to be our cardio, which also goes by the names conditioning or metabolic training. But the goal with these types of exercise sessions is to burn as many calories as we can in a given time. And that can be accomplished through moderate intensity, constant motion, or you can do sort of an interval between higher and lower intensities. So you would go hard for a short period of time, recover with lower intensity, go higher intensity again. So you're kind of going that up and down intensity level. But when you look at the exercise session overall, you've created a high calorie burn just in terms of your average energy expenditure for that session. But the variable I really wanted to zero in on with your cardio sessions is variety. And variety not for reasons that are very marketable, such as shocking your body or muscle confusion, anything like that. A theme that's come up on the FitPro Show, talking with David as well, is that your body is a lot smarter than you are. It's evolved over much longer than we've all been alive. So there's no real outsmarting your body. So we want to work with our body. And the reason for me to recommend variety is not even the boredom component either, because I know some people love monotony. They like to just zero in and click into that gliding pace where they're not thinking much, and maybe they can even, watch a series or a movie, or just click in and get in. Like me, I like to listen to an album and just go with the beat. So I like that monotony as well. But the reason I'm emphasizing variety as a critical component is we want to balance the load across our muscles and joints, because I'm sure both of us, you and I, Emily, can probably pinpoint certain cardio activities that are going to be the really high calorie burners. So like the step mill or taking the stairs, that's going to be a big one, or running uphill. I don't know. What do you think are some of the major energy expenditures?
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
like doing like multiple sets of like box jumps or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
kind of looks like. But yeah, I agree with you with doing uphill stuff or the Stairmaster. Yeah.
Yeah, so like using that as an example, if you were to try to do that for every session, most days of the week, that can really take a beating on your legs and sometimes your knee joint, hip joints, in some cases your back. So we want to include variety, because when we're doing this much volume of activity, we want to spread that load distribution across our muscles and joints so that we're not overtraining specific movement patterns. So just to use some examples, the ideal environment, I mean, if I were still in a gym and I had different pieces of equipment available, and let's say I had 60 minutes to spend on exercise, I would try to do as many of those machines as I can. So rather than doing all of my cardio on one machine, you know, clicking in on the step mill because that's going to be a high calorie burner, instead of doing that, I'm going to spread it, maybe do the rower, stationary cycle. Favorite of David and mine is the Cybex Arc Trainer. But being able to spread it out, even if it's going to result in a net less calorie burn total, the trade-off is worth it, because the one thing that'll slow down your progress more than anything are injuries, and even those overuse injuries. So we want to keep our muscles balanced. We want to load the joints evenly. It's like rotating our tires. And if you're someone who does get bored easily, this is going to add that fun factor. So I mix it up between more of I mean, we were able to get our hands on a secondhand elliptical cross trainer. And so I'll do that in the garage, but I'll alternate that with some steps types of workouts where I'm not using my knees as intensely or going into more intense knee bend. And then even on the elliptical cross trainer, I'll find ways that I can vary the load and the muscle distribution. So for example, I might lean forward a bit and press back onto my heels and see if I could feel that more in my glutes and get more of a hip extension. And then with the arm motion, which is pretty much fixed, I'll try to maybe emphasize pushing for 1 minute, and then the next minute I'll emphasize pulling. So it looks the same, but my intentions are different in terms of the muscle action I'm trying to create from within my body. So it's all about intention. And then from there, I'll even hop off the machine during however much time I set aside and maybe do some steps or just like sprint alternating with with walk for recovery. So any ways that you can incorporate variety, and this is where you get to bring in some creativity. Of course, utilize one of us if you need some ideas to add that variety. But that's going to prevent those overuse injuries, because when we're trying to create that calorie deficit through exercise, we also want to make sure that we're not leading to overtraining.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jason. I think a lot of people don't realize that when they get comfortable with some kind of cardio exercise. Because, they're like, oh, I finally found something that I really like, so I'm going to stick to it. But I don't think they realize, yeah, the damage that they're doing by not mixing it up. And also, there could be other things that you like. So put yourself out there. I mean, just some of my favorite ones off the top of my head: jump roping, slams, box jumps. I mean, sprints. You can get so creative with it. There's so many different things that you can do. And like you said, it's going to challenge all of those different muscle groups and those joints and whatnot. So I love that tip. If you have found yourself liking one cardio exercise and you find yourself really going to that one cardio exercise, make it a challenge this week or within the next 2 weeks to try something new. It's not going to hurt it. If you don't like it, then you tried it and you don't like it, and you can throw it out the window. But I guarantee you could probably have at least 3 things that you will find that you like, and you can kind of mix up throughout your trainings. David brings up a good point of TechMan Try, how it's a great way to have that variety in cardio. So if you're not participating in TechMan Try, it's not too late to sign up. We just started yesterday, so feel free to reach out and we'll get you signed up for that. Deborah asked, what would you say is the max time to do one type of exercise then? 5 minutes, or what do you think here, Jason?
Hey, Deborah. So it's not really a fixed amount of time. It's more so you have a given amount of time for your entire exercise session. So think about all the different types of exercises you can do, and then just try to divide that semi-evenly. So if like I had 6 different types of cardio activities I could do, which is it's really good variety. I'm thinking more of like being in a gym environment. But if I had that available and I had 60 minutes, then of course I'm going to try to spread those so that they're 10 minutes each, rather than doing my entire 60-minute on one machine. So try to distribute it relatively easily or evenly throughout your fixed amount of time.
Yeah, definitely good advice.
And then, yeah, David also loves swings and slams. And then what I like about that sort of thing is that you can bring in your upper body,
Right.
because a lot of, cardio tends to be very lower body dominant. So that's why I like to do boxing too, because it brings in core and upper body, really everything from the ground up. So you're getting more of that well-rounded workout.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, make that a goal, everyone, to try something new, and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing Jessica wanted me to discuss are weight loss plateaus. So if you've been succeeding on a weight loss plan, you're making progress in terms of improving your body composition, there's going to be a point where you'll reach a plateau, meaning you're doing all the same things, but you're not seeing the progress. And this happens to all of us. And the reason why is because your metabolism has now adapted to your current environment. So your environment being a combination of your food intake and your activity level. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because let's say we were at a higher body weight and a higher body fat percentage. It seems counterintuitive, but our metabolism at that higher body weight most likely was higher than at a lower body weight, just because we have more body mass that we're carrying around. I know the conception is that we always want a high metabolism, and when someone's overweight, it means they have a low metabolism, but it's not necessarily directly related, because it's your entire body mass, not just muscle mass, that contributes to your daily calorie burn. But what's important is matching your metabolic rate to your food intake in terms of calorie and nutrition content. So having a lower metabolism is not necessarily a negative thing if it has resulted in you achieving a healthier body composition. And by the way, having a slower metabolism actually is better for longevity. Not necessarily the lower the better, but when you slow down the rate of turnover, you're also slowing down the growth of cancers. So you'll find in a lot of longevity research that having a slower metabolism, or a better way to say it is being metabolically efficient, is actually better for longevity.
Yeah, that brings up a great point, and I'm glad Jessica wanted us to touch on that because it happens a lot. You hear, you're meeting with a client or you're working with a client, and a month goes by, 2 months, and we kind of get in that plateau, and they get frustrated, and you don't want them to be, and you want them to feel successful because they did do great so far. So we just have to change things up, keep all of those things in mind, and it's just sitting down and having that conversation, or if you're not working with a trainer, sitting down with yourself and just thinking back to all these things that Jason has just said and thinking about ways that we can switch things up.
Yeah, and the reality is, if from that point you want to take it to the next level, I'm afraid you're just going to have to do more in terms of either finding ways that you can create a higher calorie burn in your exercise slash cardio sessions, because when you're leaner, the same movements are actually going to burn less because you're lighter. But again, that's not a negative thing, because if your body composition has improved, it just means you're going to have to work that much harder during your exercise sessions. And I just had a question come in from David. Advice for someone coming off a fat loss diet. Okay, yeah. So moving into more of that maintenance. So when we reach that plateau, remember, maintenance is not a negative thing either, because one thing we notice, especially as we age, is that it takes effort just to maintain. And sometimes we think that we can do everything that worked for us in the past. And sometimes that leads to even less results than it gave us in the past. So we just have to put more effort into it, and then just be a little bit more conscientious of our food intake. We essentially have a little less wiggle room. But in terms of switching to more of maintenance mode, number one, don't be under the impression that you can go on a diet or fat loss plan or intensive exercise, get results, and then return to your previous behavior. Because all that's going to do is gradually move you back up to where you were before. But no, Emily, I want to hear from you first. Do you have recommendations for someone who achieves some aggressive weight loss and then switching to maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, I would take a look at, first of all, your calorie deficit. What did you, have that at for your weight loss maintenance, right? And so you
Mhm.
might have to switch that up a little bit. Maybe that's bumping up by, I don't know, 200 calories. It kind of all depends on what your maintenance goal is now, and taking a look at all that. So that would be the first thing I would look at. And then, like you just said, I mean, the biggest thing is, don't go back to your old ways. You can, since you're going to change those calories, you can maybe add in, another snack of yours that you really like, or whatever that is. So really, first thing is finding out what that maintenance looks like, and then, tailoring your nutrition and your exercise to that new goal. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't go back to the old ways and think that you're going to maintain what you just gained or lost, I guess.
Exactly.
So just think about that. I know a lot of people, they that happens a lot, where they'll lose a ton of weight, they'll hit their goal, and then they're like, okay, well, I can go back to my old ways. And that's just not how it goes. You have to, find where your exercise and your nutrition is going to keep you at that maintenance goal.
Yes, and so whatever helped you achieve that weight loss goal, your maintenance level is going to resemble that pretty closely. It just might be you're going to allow yourself a higher intake of the same types of carbohydrates, for example, or maybe it's being able to cut down on your cardio sessions if you've been going pretty aggressively in
Right.
terms of the duration and frequency. So it should resemble the same quality in terms of your food and your exercise, but perhaps cutting down on the exercise and then increasing the food intake, but just enough so that you're not regaining what you work so hard to achieve. And for some of us, it might be shifting our focus to more of a like building muscle, for example, basically shifting to a different fitness focus. So not only maintenance, but maybe we're going to work on a different goal while trying to maintain what we work so hard to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So Emily, all right, I feel like we've been building this up, but I definitely want to talk about cheat meals
Yep.
and how it can help you and how it can hurt you. So cheat meals, it goes by a lot of different names, refuel, reload, but I think we all have an idea of what cheat meals are. It's something that deviates from your weight loss approach nutrition, either in terms of the calorie amounts, or it's a higher fat, higher carb, maybe sometimes higher sugar, higher salt, sodium. But basically, it means eating either like totally different types of foods than you would normally eat with the goal of fat loss, or in higher amounts. And so the first thing is that when you're just starting to develop better eating patterns, don't plan cheat meals into that, because if you do that right off the bat, that's a recipe for failure. And the reason why is your mind is in the wrong place at that point. Meaning, if you're starting to develop better eating patterns and you want to improve your nutrition, if you're already asking, when do I get to have my first cheat meal or cheat day? Your mind is set on what you want to cheat on rather than this goal that you have in mind. So maybe from there, it's just you just need to shift your mindset into, instead of I'm missing out on all this yummy and fun food, to I'm missing out on getting my lab work and my doctor saying my results are phenomenal. Or I'm missing out on doing this activity that I love, but my body composition, body fat level is too high, and I can't handle the stress on my joints because I'm not at a healthy body weight. Or I'm missing out on wearing this outfit that I would rock if I had a leaner physique. So just think about what motivates you, because we can't tell you that. What's motivating you to achieve this goal, and shifting your focus from I'm missing out on all this fun food to I'm missing out on achieving my ultimate vision by shortcutting myself the opportunities I have to get there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like if you plan those in, you're already looking forward to that. And for me, honestly, I think I'm more inclined to do it more than once then. I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna have a little cheat meal tomorrow, maybe I can just have another little cheat snack today. At least that's how my mind kind of works with that. And I know that's how I am. Mine is more, I always kind of live by like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, and this is like normal life unless I'm like really trying to, achieve some kind of goal, but 80% of the time I am eating clean, I'm working out, doing everything that I need to be doing. And then 20% of the time it's like, okay, well, I'm human. I'm gonna have, that cake at my grandma's 80th birthday party or whatever it is. I'm not gonna limit myself to, because you only live once, everybody. So, I'm not saying have that piece of cake every day, but if it comes up, don't feel guilty for having it once. It's not gonna put you back as far as you think you are. Maybe you're just gonna have to work a little bit harder tomorrow if that's what it is. But yeah, it's more, I don't really ever plan my cheat meals. It just like comes up. Like if I'm, someone asked me to go to dinner and I know it's not going to be that healthy of a dinner, or there's not that many choices that I can pick. Then that's kind of just how it happens for me. It's not like I'm like, oh, Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to have that cheat meal.
Right. Yeah, so start with the template that you're not going to plan it in or schedule it, but it is going to happen for all of us. And for me, I mean, I like baked goods, I like to drink. So it's not something and for me, that 80-20 rule, I'm finding it's more 90-10 for me. But knowing that it's going to happen, there are some few strategies that we can use so that our heads are not spinning because we had an entire cheat day or cheat weekend that we didn't plan, and then all of a sudden we're back to our starting point. So the first place I would start is, number one, if you feel like your calories are just too low, and the way to know that is, again, if your body temperature is low, you're gonna have just a lower motivation to move, meaning just involuntary movement throughout your day. You're gonna notice that you're essentially a lot lazier than normal. So from there, the first place I would start is simply eat the same foods. And just like we talked about with maintenance, is to just bring that level up. So just eat more of the same things you're eating. And so that's where I would start. The second level is if you've been eating, for example, either like, let's say, a low fat diet. So you're pretty much eating like your lean proteins all week long. A cheat meal might still be what most would consider a pretty healthy meal, like a steak with some salad, potato, maybe a glass of wine, but also like some fatty fish for some people if you've been eating like lean white fish throughout the week. So just having a higher calorie density of the same types of foods you would normally eat on your weight loss plan. And Eric says one suggested way he heard was to allow yourself one meal per week to eat what you want. And I think Emily and I both would agree with that. And it's the key is the one meal. Probably I wouldn't recommend one day. What about you, Emily?
I would
Yeah.
say one meal, and don't,
Yeah.
like we talked about last week when I mentioned, don't eat to the point where you're full and you can't move. That
Yes. Yeah.
one meal is fine, but make it appropriate to the size that you're still walking away and, not, you can't move. That cheat meal doesn't mean you eat everything in sight. Just plan accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with that one meal, like Emily said, not getting to that uncomfortable point, because when you mix very high calorie density foods with a very high volume, not only it's going to make you feel uncomfortable and it'll probably upset your GI system. When you try to get back to your normal eating patterns that you've now adopted, you're probably going to feel like you don't have an appetite for that. So it'll kind of throw off the rest of your eating schedule. So I personally like to save that cheat meal for the last meal of the day, because for me, I know if that's like, let's say I just had like a really good brunch, I don't know, as an example, earlier in the day. Well, it's like, well, now I got a taste of those foods, so what am I going to do the rest of the day? I just want more of that. So like I have the psychological profile that it's like, oh man, I indulged in the first part of the day, might as well just keep
Well,
that going
and
until I fall asleep.
that's just food cravings right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, what you're explaining right there is food cravings. Once you start with, that food that, bad, yummy food that you crave, that you like, then you eat it and then you crave more of it throughout the day. I'm definitely guilty of that too, Jason. I like to save mine for the end of the day, last meal, so that I know that's the last thing I'm eating.
Yeah, and it's part of that craving cycle is the blood sugar highs and lows. So saving it for the last meal, at least when you're asleep, you're not awake to act on those cravings. So just a couple more recommendations on cheat meals is if there really is a food or treat, whatever that you're missing out on, don't make it about volume. Meaning, for example, I like to have some dark chocolate after just my normal meals like lunch and dinner, but I can limit it to a couple squares at most, and I get a taste of that sweet and that richness. But I know there are some trigger foods. Like for me, that trigger food is yogurt pretzels, where I know I'll just eat the whole bag. So if you know you have some trigger foods, and I'm curious to hear yours, any of you, what your trigger foods are. If you know there are trigger foods that you're not going to be able to stop until you're either uncomfortable or the entire portion is finished, then I would try to eliminate those at least until you achieve your ultimate goal.
Yeah, definitely. I am really guilty with that when it comes to ice cream. So I try and, I don't buy it. And then if I go out and get it, just a small little thing of it. So I know I'm not overindulging. David, I'm with you on that popcorn too. We are big popcorn lovers.
Oh,
Yeah.
we got two popcorn. Yeah,
Yogurt pretzels,
pepper
Derek's
too.
with you. Nice.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's sweet and salty. Yeah. Uh, Popcorn with the movie theater butter too, the extra butter, salt
Yeah.
and vinegar almonds. No. Bottom of the can. Yeah, no sharing, Eric. No sharing. Okay, so well, I know we're at time, but the day after your cheat meal, you could take advantage of that extra fuel that your muscles have now stored in the form of glycogen, which is the carbohydrate, and also even intramuscular triglyceride, which means fat fueling your muscles. So take advantage of that. Do a constructive workout. So meaning like a muscle building type workout, especially for larger muscle groups like legs or back. Don't, like Emily said, don't go into it like you're feeling guilty and I have to burn all these extra calories, because you're going to be retaining water after a cheat meal. It's going to happen. It'll go away with time, but you might as well take advantage of that extra fuel by doing a building workout.
Yeah, definitely. I love that suggestion. Don't feel guilty and just do more. Do something that you got to do. Um, well, this has been great. I'm glad we got to do the third part because I know we really wanted to talk about cheat meals because I think that is probably one of the biggest things that is misunderstood. You'll see people on Instagram or whatever posting their cheat meals and it's just like, whoa. So thanks so much, Jason, for joining us. Thank you everybody for coming on. We love having you here. If there's any questions or concerns that you have, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for engaging today. We love having you on, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.